His ego wouldn't fit the room. Let's just say Domenic had a run-in with someone. Wasn't so kind. Keep in mind, if you want to hear the entire interview, there'll be links in the description of this video. Also, this whole interview is based on a book. Domenic Troiano, His Life and Music. I interviewed Bobby Rydell maybe 3-4 years ago, and he told me a little Freddy Cannon story. And I found that interesting that Freddy would react that way to Domenic playing. I almost looked at it as the old guard and the new guard coming in, but let me just tell you this story. So Bobby is with the Dick Clark traveling, whatever that tour was, and Paul Anka was there, Freddy Cannon was there. They were roommates. He looks at Freddy Cannon and he says, "Hey, can you wake me up in the morning? I don't want to miss the bus." The only one taking a play was Paul Anka. Because Paul Anka then was much bigger than they all were. And guess who didn't wake Bobby Rydell up? Got on the bus, and Bobby Rydell's here going, I'm too young. I can't miss this. I can't miss the next gig. So Paul Anka hears him and says, "Hey, come on the plane with me." But he mentioned in the book, and he went on in depth about, not that I want to crucify Freddy Cannon, but there's two stories right there. Like Domenic was still a young guy when that happened. He said, "What the hell are you playing? I've never heard such bad guitar playing in my life." What would make someone say something like that?
Freddy Cannon, I hate to say it, he's an SOB. I don't, honestly, I say that with reservation, because I saw him that night. I was at that event, by the way. Robbie Lane and the Disciples opened. They were the backup band for Freddy Cannon, Freddy Boom Boom Cannon. Mm-hmm. And he had 2 or 3 huge hits, Palisades Park and Hats Off to Larry. Anyhow, I mean, he was pretty successful. He was Italian, actually. That really hurt my brother even more. He's a Philadelphia guy, but he had such an attitude and his ego didn't fit in that room, I'll tell you. Anyhow, and I think the other thing that bothered him was that he was opening. Robbie Lane opened, then he was on, and then Jerry and the Pacemakers. He was pissed off at the British invasion because they were dominating the charts. I don't know. I'm reading between the lines, but I think he wasn't that happy about that. And he was a New Yorker, not New York. Oh, maybe he was from New York. Sorry, I might be wrong. Anyhow, he's a cantankerous guy. And I guess he got up on the wrong side of the bed. I mean, I hope he's not like that all the time. But it sounds like, based on your story, that maybe he's a bit of a mischievous guy. What's the word? I don't know. He doesn't have brotherly love, let's say.
Mark, you hit on something. It's that thing where when it's an unwritten rule that you support one another. Guitarists go off and see one another. Randy Bachman had Domenic on his album. When you see someone who's doing something that you find interesting, you don't have to love it, but go ahead, Mark, go ahead.
Well, that is the story. It's a little bit irritating to think that he did this, but let's also remember that Domenic was 17 years old. When it comes right down to it, he was a punk. He was a leader. He was recognized as the premier guitarist on the Yonge Street Strip at 17 years of age. And given the fact that he didn't pick up a guitar until he was late 14 or almost 15, that's pretty good. So Domenic had been stroked lots. He had the respect, and he knew how good he was. And I would suggest that as a musician, it doesn't hurt every once in a while to get to be knocked down a peg or two, even if it is misplaced. And there's no question it was misplaced, but it's part of growing as a musician. You got to be able to handle that, and you've got to be tough. And I think I don't think it hurt him a bit. I don't think it did. It's but when you talk about him playing with different guitar players, you got to remember when he was doing those reviews down in New York at Murray the K's, and shortly after that with the Mandala, that Pete Townsend and the Who were on the same review, and Eric Clapton and Cream were on the same review. And after the shows, it was Eric Clapton and Pete Townsend going up to Donnie's room to learn about playing the guitar, rather than vice versa. They're all about the same age, okay? And so they were like sponges, learning from each other and hearing one another, but they had such a high regard. So when Clapton showed up at La Cave in Cleveland about a year later or 2 years later, and got on the stage to jam after midnight with Donnie and play for about an hour, I would love there to be a recording of that gig, because here you had these two guys playing off one another. No, I don't think it hurt him. I don't think it hurt him at all.
Tell me about the beret.
Well, unfortunately, when my brother was a teenager, latter years of teenagehood, he started losing his hair, and he started buying all different. He would respond to different ads about losing hair, thinning hair. He would be buying creams and this and that over those 2 or 3 years, and then in the Robbie Lane and the Disciples, he still had a full head of hair, pretty well. It started thinning, and by the time the Rogues and the Mandela, it got thinner and thinner. He grew his hair longer, of course, to be in fashion, but he started wearing. I think he was influenced a little bit by Lenny Breau. Lenny Breau wore a beret, so it might have been part of that, or maybe his kind of being close, being philosophically close to Che Guevara and the Cuban, all the guys in Cuba there. He bought a beret. And he bought it downtown at his favorite store there that sold all different kinds of hats. And he did wear a bandana a bit as well in the Mandela occasionally. Then the beret, and then he started wearing the larger hats as well on the Guess Who and different things. But his main thing was his trademark was the beret. Yes,
it looked good.
Yeah. No, it was really, I started wearing it in high school myself. I went down there, and instead of buying 2 or 3, he liked navy blue and black. And I think his size was 7 3/4. It was fairly big. And a lot of times they didn't have stock. So I'd have to keep going back. This is before the internet and all that, you go down to Queen, and it was in the arcade, Queen and Young around there. So anyhow, one time when I went there, they had a new shipment from the Basque region in Europe. I must have bought 10 or 15 of them. And then my brother paid for them all, and I kind of snuck a few of them for myself and my friend, my high school friend. And all of a sudden we were wearing a beret in grade 12. Everybody was going, "Did you just go to Paris?" They thought we were two jackasses, But anyhow, we kind of wore them in sympathy or whatever with my brother. But yeah, it was his trademark pretty well right through from there. Yeah.
Something that didn't make the book, when I was interviewing Gary Peterson, and Gary Peterson from Winnipeg. Gary was a bit of a child prodigy. Apparently, he was playing drums with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra when he was 4 years old or something like that. His father was a big band drummer, and so Gary got to play with a lot of people. So, including Lenny Breau. Lenny Breau, of course, got his start in Winnipeg. He was a Winnipeg jazz guitarist, and so when Donnie was joining the Guess Who, and Gary had such a high regard for Lenny Breau, and he had a high regard for Donnie Troiano. He said to me, when I played with Lenny Breau when I was a teenager, and now here, and Lenny Breau was phenomenal. Here I was getting to play with another guitarist who not only played like Lenny Breau, he kind of looked like Lenny Breau. They had the same complexion. He says he even wore a beret like Lenny Breau. So for him, he thought it was Lenny Breau reincarnated.
My God. The brand new book is by Mark Doble and Domenic Troiano's brother, Frank. Mark was actually a good friend of Dominic's. There'll be links in the description if you want to pick up the book. If you want to see the entire interview, there'll be links in the description as well. We'll have more from the pair in just a few days. Make sure you comment on our videos. Share our videos on social media. That's the biggest thing that helps us. Share, share, share. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Canada. Take care of yourself.